So we are less than 6 hours away from the impeachment vote. We now go over to the Yongsan Presidential Office, and our Oh Soo-young is standing by there. Soo-young, the last time we heard from President Yoon himself was on Thursday, where he gave an almost half-hour televised address. Just briefly, let's go over the highlights of the speech and what this indicates about his position.
Sure, Tammy. So in his 29-minute speech on Thursday, President Yoon claimed that he had imposed martial law as an act of governance. And he said it was a move to protect South Korea's democracy from what he's always been calling anti-state forces, criminal groups, as well as risks to national security, such as North Korea and Chinese spies. And well, Yoon has mainly argued that for the past 2 years, the opposition have basically been trying to impeach and unseat members of his administration as well, which he calls an act that he has claimed is very unconstitutional. And well, from all of this, I would say there are two things to take away. First, he sounded very defensive. He was clearly trying to explain and justify his decision to impose martial law by first describing how the opposition party is trying to sabotage his administration and its policies, and second, to emphasize he had no intentions of disrupting the constitutional order. He's argued that he's trying to restore it, and he claimed that liberal democracy was in peril. Then he insisted martial law was a political decision that's also legal under his executive authority. So his speech seemed to be an attempt to defend and justify himself as investigators close in on him on charges of possible insurrection, and he expects impeachment proceedings to begin, clearly. The second takeaway is that the president intends to fight to the end, as he said. And I would say this was quite typical of his unbending character. As a former prosecutor, once he makes a judgment, there seems to be no compromise or alternative path. And so we saw him apologize for creating anxiety, but he did not say he regretted imposing martial law, nor did he seem apologetic towards the lawmakers who he allegedly ordered to be dislodged physically from parliament by military troops. As he said, he seems to be ready to fight till the end, and that resigning is not even an option for him.
So, Soo-young, that means President Yoon gears up for insurrection charges and also possible impeachment proceedings. Now, I have to ask you, how do you expect things to develop?
Well, investigators, of course, are closing in on him, and we saw police trying to raid the presidential office this week, 2 attempts in fact. And, well, there hasn't been a warrant execution for Yoon's official residence yet, but we see that investigations on him will close in even more. So it's been reported that the presidential office is reaching out to former legal secretaries as well as top law firms to form a legal defense team. President Yoon and his wife also withdrew from the Telegram messaging service, indicating, but perhaps hinting that they're preparing for a full-scale investigation. Some key aides are also believed to have deleted Telegram and switched their mobile phones as well.
Well, then you have to walk us through the consequences for President Yoon today. The question is, what powers would he continue to retain if he is or isn't impeached?
So if President Yoon is impeached today, then the Constitutional Court will begin a review of his impeachment proceedings, of course, and that would freeze his executive authorities as president after the National Assembly sends his office a notice notifying him that his executive powers have been frozen. And in President Park Geun-hye's case, former President Park Geun-hye's case, that took about 3 hours after the impeachment vote was made. So President Yoon, if impeached, only his title of being president would be retained. And when the impeachment motion against President Roh Moo-hyun was passed in 2004, the Ministry of Justice prepared a report which stated a suspended president cannot exercise any powers, including diplomatic authority, appointment or dismissal of public officials, or command of the armed forces. The suspended president also cannot receive reports or give orders to public officials, such as the Prime Minister and cabinet ministers, or attend National Assembly sessions. However, the president is entitled to protocol privileges, such as residing in the presidential residence, using official vehicles and aircraft, as well as receiving security services. His office would also continue to function quite normally, with senior secretaries proceeding to answer to him as usual. However, if he's not impeached, he would retain his title, but it's highly likely that he would still lose his credibility and ability to govern effectively due to low public and political support. And as investigations into his possible insurrections will continue, it could lead to his arrest. And if he's arrested, the question would be whether he's considered to be in a state of an accident, which would deem him temporarily unable to perform his duties. The other option would be whether this creates a vacancy. So if his arrest is deemed an accident in line with the Article 71 of the South Korean Constitution, the Prime Minister would take over as interim leader. But if it's considered a vacancy in line with Article 68, an election must be called within 60 days.
Right, of course, we are talking about the worst case scenarios for our President Yoon. Soo-young, thank you so much for the report today. We appreciate it as always.